Baruchim Abayim, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Congregation Ahavas Yisroel for a special shiur with Rabbi Shaya Cohen, the founder of Priority One and Rosh Yeshiva Zichron Aryeh. And the 5 times, it's a big honor for us to have him once again in our community. Thank you very much, Rabbi, for coming. Just a few quick announcements before we begin tonight's amazing shiur. This Thursday night, Chazaq will be having a special kumzitz in Congregation Bet Eliyahu in Fresh Meadows with Rabbi Yonatan Hakimi, and should be very inspirational. Musical inspiration is what we call it. Men and women are welcome. Food will be served Thursday in Fresh Meadows, 73rd Avenue, I believe. You'll see flyers around the community. Next week, Sunday, a week from today, is a massive carnival in Yeshiva Central Queens, free of charge, rides, bounces, games, prizes for kids. Come one, come all, should be very nice as well, from noon to 3 o'clock. And Monday night, a very special Chazaq event with Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein live at the Young Israel of Queens Valley, Rabbi Peretz Steinberg Shul. All are welcome to that, men and women, at 8:15 p.m. Many other events and programs happening in the very near future. Too many to announce, but please look out for them. Please come, please spread the word, let others know as well about these amazing programs. I guess I wanted to thank the shul for hosting this event, and I guess without further ado, it's our pleasure to call upon Rabbi Shaya Cohen.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here, and especially to talk about a topic which, fortunately and unfortunately, is so critical in our day and age, as in truth it has been since the very beginning, since the beginning of creation almost, I imagine. The Vilna Gaon writes in Mishlei an amazing statement. He says, Iker nesinas ha-Torah li-Yisrael hu sheyosimu be'elokim kislom. The essence of the giving of the Torah to klal Yisrael was that klal Yisrael should place their trust in Hashem. That's the essence. That's the Iker of Kabbalah HaTorah. Seems very strange to boil down the essence, the Iker of the giving of the Torah to Klal Yisrael, just in order that we should have bitachon. Bitachon is very important, but doesn't it seem a little bit overrated? The Iker Nesinas HaTorah Yisrael. And I'd like, in the context of this evening's talk, to try to elaborate on this statement from the Vilna Gaon and maybe come to some tentative, possible explanation of what it all means. We certainly live in trying times. The history of Klal Yisrael, especially in the last close to 2,000 years of the Golus, have certainly been very trying. Truth be told, the parsha that we read this Shabbos tells us that there were trying times even in the Midbar. We're melumid. We're very used to trying times. And trying times require very, very strong, I would say, weapons, koichos, the accessibility of means to cope with the trying times, to overpower and achieve beyond the difficulties of these trying times, and to be able to maintain our strength, our equilibrium, our ability to function, and our ability to do that which we have to do in order to alleviate the difficulties of these trying times. And I would like to suggest that this midah, which it is, called bitachon, trust in Hashem, and all of these subsidiaries and the corollaries that exist under that general title are all means of achieving these 3 accomplishments. Number 1, to literally change the outcome of events, to have an influence in the face of struggle, in the face of challenge, in the face of difficulty, to literally be able to change the course of events and make things happen for us in our favor, according to that which we want, according to that which we need, according to that which we desire. That's one power that this family of midos, let's call them, or nuances of bitachon have. Secondly, it also has the power to create, I guess what we could call menuchas hanefesh, a peace of mind, a tranquility, a sense that I can function. There's a problem, I face the problem, I know there's a difficulty, I know there's a challenge, the challenge is serious, but we have menuchas hanefesh, we have peace of mind, we need not worry. And number three, it can energize us and give us the ability to continue functioning, to continue what we call being mishtadel, to continue putting in our efforts towards the achievement of the goal, despite the fact that the goal seems so elusive, so remote, so overwhelmingly difficult, and yet we can find the strength and enhance the strength that we have through that bitachon. And allow me to elaborate. Let's talk first about menuchas hanefesh, and we'll leave the accomplishments of bitachon to last. Peace of mind. Wonderful state of being, coveted by everyone. To be able to be tranquil, to be able to be at peace, to be able not to worry about anything. Rashi says in Parshas Bahar, where the Torah says, "Vishavtem lo vetach be'artzachem," you will dwell in security. Lo vetach is a loshen bitachon, trust, but meaning security, be'artzachem, in your land. And Rashi says, "Sheloi tidagu." What is lo vetach? What is security? What is the definition of bitachon? The absence of worry. There's nothing to worry about. We won't worry. A person who can achieve that feeling, that emotion, that midah of bitachon in Hashem has nothing to worry about. There's no worries. If there's nothing to worry about and there's no worrying, wow, what a state of being. What a state of being. What would we not give to be able not to have any worries and not to have to worry and not to be able to worry and not to feel the need to worry about anything? How does that state of being come about? Well, simply put, when we realize a number of basic principles, those are the principles which will eliminate, which will reduce and eventually eliminate any worry, any need for worry, and any worry. Number one, ein mikra lefonov. There's no accidents in this world. Hashem is in control of everything. There is nothing that happens in this world, be it earth-shattering or totally insignificant, that happens in the life of mankind. And alachas kama v'kama of klal Yisrael, of Yidden, that isn't orchestrated directly through the hashgocha parotis, through Hashem's direct, intricate, and intimate involvement in every aspect of our existence. So, ein mikra lefonov, there are no accidents. Nothing happens by chance. These words are misnomers. They don't mean anything. They're not the reality. The reality is everything is b'hashgocha. Number two, there's another reality. That reality is ein matzor laHashem miloishia bein rav bein me'at. There's nothing that prevents Hashem from saving us. There's no situation too dire that has any ingredient in it that can prevent Hashem from changing it in our favor. Nothing. That's number two. Ad kedei kach that Chazal put it very dramatically and say, Afilu cherev chodo munachas al tzavor shel odom. Even if a sharp sword is lying right on the neck of a person, al yisyayish or al yimna odom atzmei min harachamim. Don't withhold the opportunity. Don't deny the opportunity. Don't interfere with the opportunity. Don't give up on the fact that Hashem has rachmanis and can, in fact, at the last moment, in the most miraculous and unbelievable way, determine, change the apparent reality which is represented by the sword already on the back of a person's neck. So, Hashem is involved in everything, and Hashem is nothing restraining him from doing anything in this world. But it takes a little bit more than just that to really establish the full menuchas hanefesh. And the truth of the matter is that those two ingredients are really more ingredients of what we call emunah, our basic belief system in Hashem, in His powers, in His involvement, rather than specifically the bitachon. The next ingredient, which is also very critical, which begins to speak or begins to bridge the gap from emunah. I believe in Hashem. I believe in His involvement. I believe in His control. I believe in His power. I believe in His lack of any limitation. But then there's something else. The knowledge of His chesed. Hashem is all about chesed. He created the world only to do chesed. He needed not this world nor anything else. And yet, He created a world out of His goodness, out of His hatova, out of the shleimus of His hatova. The shleimus, the fulfillment, the completeness of goodness is to share that goodness. And Hashem only wanted to share that goodness. Olam chesed yiboneh, the pasuk says in Tilim, the world is built upon chesed only for the purpose of doing chesed. Now, chesed is a very complex system. Why? If you notice, you remember, I'm sure we all do, Bereshis Bora Elokim, the Torah tells us Hashem created the world. Elokim is a loshon of mishpat, justice. Not chesed, not rachamim, but justice. Hashem created the world with justice. Why? Truth be told, because justice is the greatest chesed. What's the great chesed? When I give someone something that he doesn't earn, that he didn't earn, that really is not his due, that's really not true, it's really not honest. We call that, in the Lashon of Chazal, namad kisufa. That's the bread of embarrassment. It's embarrassing. It would be embarrassing to be honored at a dinner for all the great deeds and the great gifts and the great accomplishments when I did absolutely nothing. It's not real. I can't enjoy. I can't appreciate that which I didn't deserve. So the greatest chesed is to create a system where we can earn what Hashem wants to give us. And when we earn that hatova, that good, He is giving us the greatest chesed because it's a benefit that we can truly appreciate, that we truly deserve, that is truly true, that doesn't carry with it that embarrassment. However, in order for there to be mishpat and justice, in order for there to be reward and punishment, in order for there to be schar, in order for there to be chesed, Hashem had to give us free will. Without free will, we'd be just pre-programmed to do good, which would not be any good at all. So, He had to give us bechira chofshis, free choice. Now that we have free choice, we have a problem. Yes, the biggest chesed is to earn the good that Hashem wants to give us. But what if I don't earn it? What if I fall short? What if in my free choice, I don't exactly make the grade? Then what do I do? And here's where the second parak tells us, in the next, in Parashat Bereshis, not in the Parashat Bereshis, it says, V'yoyim beroi Hashem Elokim. Hashem tempered the justice with mercy, with rachamim. So, now he has like this, a system of justice. I give chesed as it is deserved. You earn that chesed and therefore you can deserve it. It's true, you can appreciate it. It's not embarrassing. But in case you fall short because of the fact that there is free choice, and therefore one might then fall short and make a move or a decision or an act that's inappropriate. So to that Hashem says, I temper mishpot with rachamim. So that I use the rachamim. And rachamim means, yeah, it's true, Yutaka didn't deserve this completely, but there are extenuating circumstances, but this is a special case, but this, but that. The rachmanis. And the rachmanis allows us to earn with the justification of rachmanis, even not the justification of absolute mishpot, but with justification that it shouldn't be so embarrassing. I think in the legal system too, that sometimes the lawyer prays for mercy, that you ask the judge for clemency. In other words, there's a din, there's a mishpot, there's justice, and then sometimes under extenuating circumstances, there's room to feel a little bit of human sympathy and to not deny and not controvert the justice system, but to temper it a little bit. And that's what Hashem does with us. Now, bitachon steps in and performs an amazing role. And that's the role that allows it, number one, to accomplish what it accomplishes. It allows us then to feel totally the lack of any worry and complete and total menuchas hanefesh. And it even allows us to energize ourselves, and let me explain. There's a mitzvah in Parshas Mishpotim of to pay a schar sochir bismalei. When a person works, a day worker, and you hire him for a day, then you're supposed to pay his salary that day. And the Torah says that it's very important, and Elav Unesis Nafshay, he's counting on it, and you worked for it, and that's the halacha, and so forth. Chazal in the Medrash give a moshel. A person had a donkey that was leading and walking along, and he found some very good food that he wanted to purchase. He buys the food, puts it on his shoulder. On the rope, he's leading the donkey's following him, going home. But this donkey has his eye on the food, and he wants to eat it. And he's hoping, the lotion of Chazal is, he's hoping that when he gets home, he'll be able to eat it. He sees it, he's hoping he'll be able to eat it. He gets home, and the master, the owner, puts the food high up, and the donkey can't reach it. And Chazal call him a rosha. A rosha. Why? Because you're disappointed. His hope, he was hoping for it. And you didn't allow him to get that for which he was hoping. And that's what they say happens when you don't pay a day worker in time. But l'choira, it doesn't make any sense. The comparison is very, very difficult. Because the day worker worked for the money. The day worker, the money belongs to him. The day worker, that is, you promised him that money. And it's his money. How do you compare that to the donkey? The donkey didn't work for it. You didn't promise it to him. It doesn't belong to him. He desired it. He was hoping. So hoping. What do you want from my life? They come through. That's what it is. If you don't pay the schar sochir, it's comparable to not giving the donkey that which he hoped for. And the answer, I believe, is very simple, but yet very profound. A disappointed hope, a hope that's being frustrated, that's being refused to allow to have results, is so devastating, is so painful, that it dwarfs by comparison all the other considerations. You know, this man worked for his money and he's hoping to get it. I forget the fact that it belongs to him. Forget the fact that he worked for it. Forget the fact that you promised him. But the worst part of it all, strong enough, mean enough, cruel enough that it dwarfs every other feeling that he has, is He was hoping, he was counting on it, and you frustrated that hope. That frustration, that pain is so acute that everything else in comparison is considered irrelevant. And therefore Chazal felt comfortable comparing the case of one who doesn't pay the worker on time to the donkey who hoped to get the food even though he had no claim, no right, no promise, no work for, nothing. A frustrated hope is a very painful thing. And maybe now we can understand what happens when we put our hope to Hashem. Hashem looks at us. We have a problem. There's difficulties, there's challenges, there's things going on out there that are overwhelming. And I refuse to give up hope. And I'm not even sure that Hashem's going to help me. We'll discuss that in a moment or in a few moments. But I'm hoping. I won't give up hope. It's getting dismal. It's getting darker. It's getting less likely. It's bleaker. It doesn't look. The cherev is getting closer to the tzavorei shel Adam. It's almost munach al tzavorei. I don't give up hope. Hashem looks at that and says, I can't let you down. I can't disappoint that hope. And because of the fact that we hope, even though we may not deserve that which we're hoping for, but that hope is so painful that Hashem looks and says, I have rachmanis on you. I have to be merachim. Even though in din, maybe shemagoram hachet, maybe you don't deserve it, you really can't. Why don't you give up hope? How come you're still hoping? Maybe you're not supposed to get it. Maybe you don't deserve it. But the hope that would be so painful if it would be disappointed evokes kaviyochel, the divine rachamim, and Memela Hashem grants me that which I'm hoping for. And that's the source of this menuchas hanefesh. Because I know when I refuse to give up hope, when I refuse to accept prognosis, I accept diagnosis, but not prognosis. When I refuse to give up, when I refuse to be disillusioned or overwhelmed by how close it seems to be getting, that it looks like it's almost beyond any hope, and I still remain hoping against hope, and I refuse to give up, and Hashem looks and says, you may not deserve it, but that matzav, just like the poor donkey, just like the sarsochir, that his hope to disappoint would be so tragic that it dwarfed all of the other considerations for which the money should be given to him, and just says it's comparable to the donkey who was hoping for that food, because a disappointed hope is a devastation to a person. And Hashem applies then rachamim, and sometimes because of that, the din, which would have been differently, will now change barachamim. It's the power that our hope has. If that's the case, then certainly when one hopes to Hashem, one can feel a great measure of menuchas hanefesh, a great measure of peace of mind, a great measure of lack of worry, because I'm not hoping. I know I'm engaged in something that is so significant to Hashem that I'm really, I could see why even if I didn't deserve it, He's now having rachmanis, and now I will be able to get something just because I refuse to give up hope. And that, of course, brings a person to menuchas hanefesh, and that is a schus which entitles a person to be able to achieve the things that he or she may want, despite the fact that I may not be fully deserving. But there's another level that goes even beyond hope. And that's something which I think has to be mentioned, even though it may be far more difficult than just refusing to give up hope. And that's when my refusal to give up hope leads me to a level of confidence almost irrational, better said emotional, not logical. I just know Hashem's not going to let me down. There's just something inside which just tells me that it's like it's logical. It isn't, because maybe I'm not worthy of it. But there's just something in me. I just feel it. Maybe partially because I refuse to give up hope, and then I feel that His Rachmanis would be falling into place. But maybe I don't deserve even that Rachmanis. But something just from within just gives me. I think about His kindness. I think about His Rachamim. I think about how much He knows how much this means to me, and how painful this would be if I would be disappointed, and how much suffering I'm going to have if I don't achieve that which I desire, and how painful it will be. His chesed, He created the world to do chesed. That's what He's all about. That's what this whole creation is, olam chesed yiboneh. And therefore, that just leads me to feel not only hopeful, not only refusing to give up hope, but to feel a sense of confidence that in fact Hashem is not going to let me down. This is, of course, a even greater assurance and entitlement to get everything I desire. It's all there because Hashem doesn't want to disappoint my hope, and Hashem is responsive to the one who puts his trust in Him. David HaMelech said it very succinctly in one posuk. He said, "Va'ani b'chastecho botachti," Perek Yud Gimel in Tehillim, "Yogel libi b'shuasecho." Or Shira Hashem ki gomal olai. Ani, for me, b'chastecha, in your chesed, in your kindness, I trusted. Which means what? Not that I trust that you're going to deliver a certain result, but I trust your chesed. I know you're all about chesed. I know that's what Hashem is. I know you created the world only for the purpose of doing chesed. And therefore, b'chastecha b'tachti, I am totally and completely confident in your chesed. But then what happens? David HaMelech continues, Yogel libi b'shuasecho. My heart begins to rejoice in the future salvation, in the future Yeshua that's going to come about. Because I'm so confident in your chesed, so I begin to rejoice in the Yeshua even before it comes. And I'm feeling something, the knowledge, the awareness, the focus, the internalization of the extent of Hashem's chesed and His rachamim bring me to I just know it, I just feel it, I know maybe I don't deserve it, but He's all about chesed and rachamim, chesed, and then if I hope there's rachamim, and if I get something inside just tells me it's going to happen. Of course, there's a very important footnote to this. And that's Shira Hashem ki gomal olai. One of the things and one of the schusim for which we're zeicher to Hashem's chesed is the promise and the commitment that after He delivers, we will sing His praise. Or Shira Hashem ki gomal olai. After He is gomal and He bestows this chesed on me, I will sing His praises. And I'd like to elaborate on that as a side point just for a moment. The problem is, and one of the reasons that oftentimes our prayers and our hopes are not immediately answered is there's a danger. You know the famous story they tell about this individual who was looking for a parking space in Manhattan. He had a very important appointment at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It was 10 to 5. This is the most important affair of his business dealings, and millions of dollars is dependent on. He can't find a parking space. And he's around and around. But please help me. Please, I'll beg. I'll be your best friend. Please help me. Oi, I beg, Rachamim. This is the most important appointment that ever happened in my life. I beg of you, please help me. And all of a sudden, right a little bit over there, he sees a parking space and he says, "Never mind, Hashem, I got it all under control." That's what Hashem is afraid of, Kaviyuch. Or Shira Hashem ki gomal olai. I trust in your chesed, and that lets me feel that sense of trust that you're actually going to bring about the Yeshua. But I promise you that when that Yeshua comes, I will not deny it. I will not hide it. I will proclaim it publicly with Shira. And that's agav, and I just think it's a mitzvah rabbo to mention to people why the Kaf HaChaim brings from Rabbi Yehuda Chosid that there's a special skula when a person has a tzorah, if he's makabel on himself or herself, that when the tzorah will be resolved, they will say nishmas in front of a minyan of people. And nishmas means, you say nishmas until broches v'hidoyis me'atav adolim, not to say the last brocha that we only say on Shabbos when we say it in the nusach of the Psukei de Zimra. But I will say nishmas, and then he says, Harbe nitzoilu derech zeh. Many people were saved through this. Why? Because it's a statement that says, I will not forget. Help me, deliver. Don't worry about me forgetting and denying and saying, I got everything under control. I promise you I won't say it. I'll sing your praises, barabim. And therefore, don't withhold that which your Rahmanis would want to give me and make it even more difficult because you're afraid that I'm going to lose my connection with you and going to give up on that. So this nishmas is a very, very, very powerful thing. In fact, maybe to just to give you a sense, a number of years ago I had a serious, often have serious financial crisis with our moistus. This was the end of our fiscal year. It was 2 weeks before the end. It was the fiscal year ended August 31st, and this was August 15th, and I was nowhere near what I needed. The numbers were a bit staggering. I needed actually $600,000 to close a gap and an extra $3 for some special reason, and I had to have it in by August 31st, so it should be on this fiscal year, on this audited statement. And August 15th, I was 900 in the hole, and nothing was happening. I don't know why. Based on this Kafa Chaim, and I don't know, I guess maybe Shemer Psoyim Hashem. So I sent out a letter to 100, I think it was 101 local supporters, and I said, on August 31st, at 7 o'clock, in the yeshiva building, we're going to have a Suda, saying Nishmas and celebrating the financial achievements that we are anticipating. August 31st came, nothing. It was already Elul, so I was giving my shir, or 2 shiurim at the time. And then I came about 1:15, come into the office and say, no, the bank was closing at 4 o'clock, a couple of hours work. Only $900,000 for a couple of hours, that shouldn't be too daunting a task. Don't ask how, but I managed to come up with 6, which was the first goal that I needed. Deposited in the bank before 4 o'clock, but the 3 was missing. I was a little bit disappointed, a little bit confused. Nishmas. Harbe nitzoyu. I guess I wasn't one of those harbe. Something didn't. Okay, but I went to the party at night, $600,000, not bad for 2 hours work. I mean, how many people here make $600,000 in 2 hours, So 3 hours. So I was at 1:15, it was 1:30 till 4 o'clock. Not bad. I went to the party, and as I walk in, and remember, it had to be deposited in the bank. The bank had already closed, so it was too late for this fiscal period. In the most unusual event of my career, an individual walks over to me and gives me a deposit slip. He had deposited $300,000 in the bank before 4 o'clock, unbeknownst to me. Oh, did we say nishmas? And that's really what we have to realize. Or Shira Hashem ki gomalai. Anyway, that's a little bit off topic, but it's a good piece of advice. I mean, don't send out letters that you're going to have $900,000, but anyway, nishmas is a very powerful, powerful tool. Anyway, let's continue. There's a darga, as we mentioned, which goes even beyond the kivui, the hope. And that is this sense of absolute bitachon. Now here's something that's a little bit dangerous, because it's very easy to say, I have 100% trust. I had a grandson who recently, he must have been listening to one of my speeches, and he entered a lottery, some kind of a raffle, for $3,600, and he has 100% trust he's going to win. He didn't. I tried to prepare him before that 100% is a high number. And, and it's easier to fool yourself in this, but I don't know if he's still recuperated from that yet. But we have to be very careful. But Lamaisa, to the degree that we can muster that confidence that Hashem will not let us down, based on our vani b'chastecho b'tachti, I put my trust, I know your chesed, and I know your rachamim, that even when I don't deserve, when I keep hoping and hoping and hoping, you're going to have rachmanis, just like on that donkey that you had rachmanis, or that one should have rachmanis, not to dash his hopes. And that leads me to some emotional sense inside that I just know something's telling me that. And once, two of my kids, they were twins, young 3-year-olds, we were leaving to go to a chasana, and they came out, and I saw in the eyes, they said, we know you're just not going to leave us. Oh, it was a babysitter, my daughter, whatever. We know you're just not going to leave us here alone. Well, we left them. But anyway, there's such a thing that, it's just a feeling like, I can't imagine you're going to do it. I know it. And when it comes to that, now, that's a very elusive type of a feeling. It's very easy to fool ourselves. And there's a classic story, which is very famous, from Rabbi Yisroel Salanta, which really points out the danger in such a concept of bitachon. And that is, the story goes that somebody came to Rabbi Yisroel with a dire need, and he needed $10,000, ruble, whatever it was, and he says, have bitachon, 100%, buy a lottery ticket and have bitachon, you're going to win, and you'll be fine. He buys a lottery ticket, bitachon, 100%, I'm very confident, nothing to worry about, everything is great. Months go by, he doesn't win. One of those tickets that you could perpetually win. Comes back to Rabbi Yisroel and he says, 100%. I didn't win. What's going on? What are you doing to me? What are you telling me these stories? He says, do you have bitachon 100%? He says, absolutely. Do you still have it 100%? Absolutely. I didn't give up yet. But he says, will you sell me the ticket for half price? Yes, sir. Who are you fooling? If you truly were 100% confident that you are going to win the $10,000, you ain't selling that ticket for a penny less. Maybe a penny because you need it now, Your Honor. But it was a joke. He was fooling himself. Yes, I think I have. It's not a button. There is no button. I've tried all over the buttons to press. There's no button to press. Now I have bitachon. Oh, that's it. In fact, the Chazon Ish eloquently describes that some people sing the song of bitachon, but it's only a song. It's not in the heart. It's not a reality. It has to be a reality. But the good news is that even the hope that I refuse to give up hope has the power, because it says, the Pasuk says, in the Chofetz Chaim is medayik, Hinei ein Hashem el Yereov, Lam yachalim lachased. There's two separate groups. There's the deserving people who deserve Hashem's chesed, and there's the meyachalim, those who await, yichul and kivoy and tikva and chipoy are all the same concept of hoping. To those who hope and await His help, they also, Hashem looks favorably on them. So there's a power there. And when I maintain that hope, and then Hashem has rachmanis on me, and then I elevate myself as much as I can to that state of being where I am confident, more, as much as I can. In reality, I try to internalize this message to bring myself more and more to that level of confidence. Then, at least to that extent that we can develop this confidence, we at least influence the results. And that's what the last Pasuk says. And I believe Rabbi Aaron Kotler, it's Meduik in the Pasuk, but I believe Rabbi Aaron Kotler was the same thing. It says, Yehi chastecho Hashem oleinu, the chesed of Hashem should be upon us, ka'asher yichalnu loch, to the extent that we hope to Him. To whatever extent I can maintain the hope, to whatever extent I can muster the bitachon. If I only get 50%, I've increased my chances of the chesed Hashem that much more. So it's a deal that it can't help but helping us to a certain level, if not, even if we can't reach the highest and most complete level of that trust in Hashem. So we have a vehicle to enhance our lives and to bring us everything we want in life. And Agav, Rabbi Yisroel Salanta, and many after him, and it seems Rishonim before him that we found, held that this applies even to luxuries. Not only for necessity, that may be parnosa, that's a necessity, even luxuries. And there's a famous story with Rabbi Yisroel that he had a machlokes with someone, the Rashash, and they argued about whether luxuries, bitachon, works for luxury too. So Rabbi Yisroel held it did. He said, I'll prove it to you. He says, I'm going to have bitachon and I'm going to get a gold watch. That's it. Kids said the story goes, there was a terrible storm at sea. There was a Jewish captain there, and he's praying. He says, Hashem, if you help me that this storm should, calm down and we should be safe, and when we dock in the nearest port, the first port we dock in, I will give my gold watch to the rabbi. The storm stops. The ship docks. The captain goes he finds the Rashash there, and he says, I have a gold watch for you. And the Rashash looks at him and says, that gold watch doesn't belong to me. That belongs to Rabbi Yisroel Salanta. So Rabbi Yisroel held even by luxury, this bitachon helps. Now, again, it's not a song, it's not a button, it's not an easy task. But to the degree that we can focus on that chesed of Hashem, it's to that degree that we can influence the future. Another eitzah for developing that bitachon. And agav, I just want to mention that outside we left, there's a little, just a two-sided thing that we've published many times over. It's one of the most popular items. It's called the Bitachon Builder. It has like 10 basic principles to review constantly to strengthen one's bitachon. There's a tefillah there, has some other information there, but it's something one should take. And also there's a flyer about a weekly bitachon chizuk series that you call into a telephone number every Wednesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, and there's about a 15-20 minute discussion of the power and the benefits and the ability to achieve and how and so forth about bitachon. So if anyone's interested, that information is there. The Vilna Gaon gives us an eitzah of how to achieve bitachon, and interestingly, that eitzah is found in the Nishmas. In Nishmas we say, Adheino azarunu rachamecho, v'lo yazavunu chasodecho, ve'al titshenu Hashem Elokeinu lanetzach. And the Goin learns pshat like this: Adheino azarunu, that which until now you helped us was only rachamecho, because of mercy, not because we deserved it. V'lo yazavunu, and that which you haven't forsaken us was only chasodecho, not because we deserved it. Lochein, he says, anachnu betuchim. He understands that when we ask al titshenu, we're really strengthening ourselves and finding the ability to have bitachon. Sha'al titshenu, you won't forsake us forever. Because he says like this: if what you did for me yesterday was because I deserved it, maybe today I don't deserve it. If what you helped me yesterday was because I deserved it, maybe I don't deserve it. But if what you did was only chesed v'rachamim, that which you helped me was only rachamecha, and that which you didn't forsake me was only chasadecha. Based on that, I can be sure that you'll do the same in the future, because your midas hachesed is constant. Now that's not logical, because logically maybe I don't deserve it as much as I did before, but it's emotional. When I see everything that Hashem does in this world, and I realize He does far more than what we truly deserve, and I focus on that, that means He acts with chesed and rachamim. That can inspire me to feel that sense of confidence in the chesed and rachamim of the future, just as He has conducted Himself in the past. I'd like now just for a moment to go into one more aspect of this bitachon, as I mentioned at the beginning. And that's we discussed the power to achieve, we discussed the peace of mind and the lack of worry, and now to discuss the menuchas hanefesh, not to discuss the energizing of a person. And energizing is very important because we live in a world where we work to make a living, where we put in efforts to maintain our health, where we don't sit back and just do nothing. We're busy all the time, we're working, and that hishtadlus is a normal part of our life, but sometimes we're lazy or weak or soft on the hishtadlus because we think it's desperate, it's not going to work. The doctor said, the market tanked, this, that, the other thing, and we get all bent out of shape. There's an interesting Rashi. The Pasuk says in Parshas Vayishlach that Vayiso Yaakov es raglo vayilech artzu b'nei kedem. Yaakov lifted up his feet and he went to the east. So Rashi says, he was traveling, and Rashi says as follows: why does the Torah have to tell me he lifted up his feet? What if he didn't lift up his feet? What if he dragged his feet? What if he schlepped his feet? What if he lifted up his feet, elevated his feet? Who cares? So Rashi says, Me'achar shehuftach b'shmira. He was promised that Hashem u'shmarticha b'chol asher telech, he'll protect him from Esav. Me'achar shehuftach b'shmira. Now that he was promised shmira, that he's going to be watched, noso libo es raglo v'nasa kalo leches. His heart lifted up his feet, and it became physically easier for him to walk. The assurance that he's going to be protected, the bitachon that he had, that he'll be protected from Esav, had a physical, instigated a physical transformation of his ability to walk. And vayisa es raglo, his heart lifted up his feet, and all of a sudden he became lighter. It's a way to lose weight. He became lighter, and it was easier to walk. All because he had that promise from Hashem, or that sense of bitachon, that it's bitachon gives us, energizes us, gives us strength and physical power and prowess, physical, mental, emotional, medical, medicinal, that we otherwise wouldn't have had. And by the way, this is documented in so many scientific studies about the power of prayer and the power of optimism. They just had recently, there was something that was published in the Time magazine, the one that had this picture on it that about a little kid, this child might live till 142, something like that. So they have a whole study they published there about, they did a study on 9,700 women, something like that, and they found that the longevity was significantly increased by the ones that were optimistic about life. Always positive, always hopeful. Never let themselves, be despair of the future. It has medicinal effects. One of the Meforshim explained in the Medrash, Ki besimchas halev tluyim chayi haguf. In the happiness of the heart depends the life of the body. Physical, medicinal. Certainly in koiches that we put in. Unbelievable koiches that we have. That all come through the person who becomes the Baal, who makes himself, who transforms himself into the Baal bitachon. So we really have an amazing array of benefits. Menuchas hanefesh, absence of worry, ability to achieve that which seemed beyond the pale of reasonable possibility, miracle maybe, and the ability to energize ourselves to physically and emotionally and psychologically, mentally and medically achieve much more, accomplish much more, do much more, because of the fact that we have that bitachon that we're going to achieve. I'd like to leave you with just one more suggestion. And I believe that all of these things are abstract and practical at the same time. Abstract, if you take it as, a lecture, very nice, it's interesting, philosophical, I don't know what it was, maybe it wasn't interesting, but they're very practical if we internalize the message. If we work on internalizing that message, if we take that message seriously. There's a Sipurnu in this week's Parsha, where Moshe Rabbeinu is frustrated at the klal Yisroel once again complaining they wanted bosor, and he says, He'anochi horisi esom hazeh. He says to Hashem, did I give birth to these people? And the Sipurnu explains that Moshe says, I'm not their natural father. They aren't sure of the extent of my love for them, because it's not universal, it's not in the teva. And they're not sure that I'll do anything for them. And because of that, they einon boitchim bi klal. They have no trust in me. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Klal Yisrael has zero trust in him, because they're not 100% sure of his love. Moshe Rabbeinu's love was quite obvious. Moshe Rabbeinu proved himself time and again in his dedication to Klal Yisrael from the time that he put his life in danger for the one Jew, and then went to the house of Paroi again and again, and throughout his years and his dedication, here at the end he says to Hashem, if you can't appoint another partner that they will trust a little bit more, then please just kill me, because I can't bear the suffering of Klal Yisrael. So his dedication was clear. But they weren't 100% sure. There's something, maybe how much love does he have for us? And therefore, they couldn't put their trust in him Not a little bit. I would have said, okay, there's something lacking. Maybe he's lacking in the love, so maybe they're lacking in the trust. No, he's lacking somewhat ever so slight in the love, and therefore they can't trust him at all. It seems that the knowledge that the one in whom we trust is so critical that if we're not fully confident in that love, then we can't muster the ability to trust. And I think that's something that we have to work on as well. Hashem loves us, loves klal Yisrael. Despite the fact that we don't see it as blatantly as we did in the Beis HaMikdash, as we did in Eretz Yisrael, it's behest upon him, that's true. But in the words of Shir Hashirim, he's mashkiach min hachalonos. He's peeking through the windows to make sure everything is all right, despite the fact that we can't see him. You know, that one kind of glass, that's the kind that you can see in only one way. He's peeking min hachalonos. He's meitzitz min hacharakim. He peeks through the crevices where he can see everyone, and you can't see him because he's peeking through the crevice. Hashem loves klal Yisrael, despite the fact that it's behest upon him. And we have to know that and be aware of it and be acutely aware of it. And that love hasn't changed throughout the Golus. And he's with us bitzora, and he's with us in Golus, and he went into Golus, the Shechina went into Golus when we went into Golus, and the fact that he had to send us into Golus pains him even more than it pains us. And it's pained us a lot the last 2,000 years. And his love is intense and total and complete. Then, and it seems only then, can we really begin to put our trust in him? When we know how much he loves, we know of his chesed as the purpose of his creation, we know of the rachamim with which he tempered the mishpat, which would have been the ultimate chesed, but he tempered it with rachamim because he wants to give, he wants to give, he wants to give. And when we look at everything he's given us in the past, and when we realize that it was all chesed v'rachamim, not because we deserved, we can then find the strength to put our trust in Hashem, to influence the future, to create a state of mind of total tranquility and menuchas hanefesh, and to energize us in all of the hishtadlus and all of the efforts that we put in our life. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu help us that we should be able to work on and to grow and to achieve higher and higher and higher levels in the midas habitachon. And may we be mispalad yichastecho Hashem aleinu. Hashem's chesed should be upon us, kasher yichalnu loch, to the degree that we have put our hope in Hashem. A good evening to all.